Here with insight on these stories and more is CBS News political director Caitlin Conant. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Thanks for being here. Let's start with what Chip alluded to. A lot of, we're less than 20 days away from the midterms now. The president is banging the drum on the immigration issue, which is bread and butter with his base. So that's sort of the direction the Republicans seem to be taking. How are the Democrats responding to this?
Well, there's no question, as you said, that for the Republicans, this is a top issue or the top issue to them. So Donald Trump is heading into states where Democrats are on the defense. They're trying to hold on to their Senate seats in 10 states where he won in 2016. So he's going in and trying to convince his voters that if you don't hold on to a Republican majority and we don't keep this, that unfortunately the Democrats are going to come in, and he's trying to scare them and say, they will have open border policies. They will call to abolish ICE. And the Democrats are trying to say, well, we're here. We want to have compromise policy on immigration. So they're two conflicting messages, obviously.
Anthony mentioned the 20 days to the election. Have we gotten any indication in these midterms as to where things may sway, the way that they may sway?
Well, I think a lot remains to be seen, and a lot can happen in the final weeks. But what I will tell you is that while we talk about the Trump tweets of the day and whatever the latest scandal is, the campaigns on both the Republican and the Democratic side have been relatively consistent. And they have been talking about pocketbook issues. Health care and economy remain the top issues for voters. And you have Republicans running on basically a record of results and saying the economy is great. If you want to keep that, vote for Republicans. And the Democrats will just be the party of resistance. And meanwhile, the Democrats are running on health care. And they're saying, if you elect Republicans to back to Congress, they are going to take away coverage for pre-existing conditions. It's going to hurt you and your loved ones who are suffering. So their message has been very consistent overall.
Yeah. Are there any races in any of these swing states that really are the barometer to what will happen come November 6th? Well,
there are two trends that I'm specifically looking at. One is women voters in the suburbs. And so one area where both the Republicans and Democrats say could be a bellwether that will be able to tell who's going to take back control of the House on election night is Minnesota. You've got the Twin Cities, the suburbs there in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and you've got two Republican congressmen, Jason Lewis and Eric Paulson, who are trying to hold on to their seats. And then another place is these deep red states where there's a big question of enthusiasm. And the Democrats seem to have an edge in an enthusiasm gap. But the question is whether that enthusiasm actually translates to people showing up to the polls. So you have Stacey Abrams, who's a Democrat running for governor in Georgia, and she is going around canvassing the state, talking to every voter, not taking anyone for granted. And then on the Senate side, the same thing. You've got Beto O'Rourke in Texas, who is really hoping that he can talk to voters who haven't showed up in the polls the last few cycles, and that they'll go and vote for them this fall.
All right. A new CBS News poll, Caitlin, just got released Friday, and one of the questions was regarding how voters processed the last year of politics. What did we see in that?
Well, we saw that voters hopefully are watching us. They are having the same conversations we are and really like talking about politics. And what the Democrats and Republicans are hoping is that engagement, that enthusiasm actually translates to people showing up at the polls this fall.
All right, Caitlin Conant, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.